All right, let's get into it.
A water-centered ritual complex has been found in Pelusium in the northern Sinai. Let's talk about it in this Egypt news. Egyptologists from the Supreme Council of Antiquities have been excavating the site of Tel El Farama for 6 years to tell the story of the ancient city of Pelusium. This site on the extreme east of the Nile Delta was called both Sena and Per Amun during ancient Egyptian times. These archaeologists have revealed a structure unlike any other temple in ancient Egypt, one that focuses on water rituals. In the center of this complex is a massive circular basin, around 35 meters or 114 feet in diameter. It was connected to the Pelusiac branch of the Nile and would have been filled with this silt-rich water. This water is associated with the god Pelusius, whose name derives from the Greek word pelos for mud. Around this basin, there's a system of water channels designed for drainage, and the square in the center of the basin may have held up a monumental statue. The archaeologists determined that this site was probably used for 8 centuries with very little changes to the structure, probably from around the 2nd century BCE until the 6th century CE. When the archaeologists originally found one quarter of the circular basin in 2019, they thought it may have been a Senate building. But this proves that the more archaeological work you can do to uncover a whole site, the larger picture and context you can learn about what was there before. We don't know a lot about Pelusium for the majority of the Pharaonic age of Egypt, but it became a very important site from the late period to the Roman occupation of Egypt. It was the site of the Battle of Pelusium in 525 BCE when the Persians took over Egypt for the first time. It was also one of the cities that welcomed Alexander the Great when he first entered Egypt in 333 BCE. And supposedly, Pompey the Great was actually murdered near the city in 48 BCE.
Something is going on in Southern California. It began around May 3rd, and over the course of several days, 3 different witnesses have come forward with peculiar videos, what appears to be unidentified lights and sounds in the sky being recorded from Pomona to Los Angeles, and nobody has any explanation for what they captured. Some are writing it off as simply fireworks, but there's no cause for these fireworks in the middle of the night. So what is it?
Those definitely are not
It
fireworks.
almost has the feel of Battle of Los Angeles. Take a look at these next 3 videos, comment below, tell us what you think.
Padre Santo, Señor Pérez.
Okay, that could be fireworks.
What the? No mames.
some of them it's really hard to tell. I would say the first clip is probably flares, and a couple of them is possibly fireworks. But without knowing the actual locations, it's hard to tell if there's any events or festivals going on for a reason to have fireworks. Let me know what you guys think.
This will terrify you. In the early 1900s, there was a young boy named Bobby Dunbar who is in the photos right now. Now, one day he was on vacation with his family and, well, he just vanished into thin air. Nobody knew where he went. They returned home after a few hours thinking he would be there, but he wasn't. They put up posters across the streets. They put out nationwide police searches for this man, full on APBs, but nothing. The boy was never found. An entire month went by of searches and nothing. Nothing happened. Until this is where it gets very, very weird. One day, after about nearly 2 months, Bobby just walked back through the door into his parents' home. Nobody knew what happened to him. Nobody knew where he went, and nobody knew why the hell he had returned. He basically didn't say anything, but it was clear it was Bobby. Now, the family went on to live a pretty normal life. They didn't really look too much into it. I mean, I bloody well would have. But they went on to live a pretty normal life together. Parents lived till they were about 60 or 70, and then obviously passed away at old age. Bobby passed away a while later as well, just from normal causes, but this is where it takes a turn. DNA results came back once Bobby had passed away and they were doing autopsies on the bodies. That Bobby who died, the Bobby who returned home to the family, was not the Bobby that went missing. A different boy had returned to the house a month and a half after vanishing and lived with the family as the son for over 60 years.
I had to look this up, and the story's sort of true. Here's how it's laid out. The boy was 4 years old, they were on a family fishing trip, and he disappeared, never to be seen again. There was an investigation that lasted for 8 months. And after 8 months, there was a boy matching his description in Mississippi with a traveling handyman. His parents, they said that that was their kid. And the guy that the kid was with, the traveling handyman, was actually saying, hey, no, this is not my kid. This is a kid that I am taking care of. He basically had custody of the kid temporarily. There was a whole trial and the Dunbars won. And the guy that had the kid, the traveling handyman, he was convicted of kidnapping. And he served time. So almost 100 years later, the granddaughter of the boy that basically got taken away from the handyman, she had a DNA test done, and the DNA test showed no blood relation. That is a crazy story. Hey, if you haven't done so already, and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. For everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
We're checking out more of the world's deadliest rabbit hole. I found a new use for my haunted doll. That's off topic though. Here is LHOHQ. It is a weird conspiracy website / art project made by some professor, and it's got a lot of creepy stuff on it. Today I want to see what's going on with this rainbow Ronald McDonald here. Yo, quick epilepsy warning. You need to click off right now if you have that. I tried to warn you. We got a lot of weird stuff going on right here. Obviously, the flashing images. I feel like I'm some part of MK Ultra right now getting brainwashed. We've got a lot of links going on in here. U.S. government resources, cybercrime.gov. But I don't know how much longer I can look at this. We're going to click on the Psychic Reprogramming Center, LHOHQ. Who is this? I don't know who this is. I can't show you guys the rest of this, I promise. Like I said, I can't show you guys what's above this, but we're on the same page. I mean, it has a lot to do with devil-worshipping PDFs. That's all I'll say. But here we have a little roadmap here. A little conspiracy board type thing, referencing Jimmy Savile. I mean, if you know, you know. Really bad guy right there. Definitely a lot of weird stuff shown this episode.
Platypuses are nippleless, so their entire body becomes one nipple and they just sweat out their breast milk and their babies lick it off of them. Orcas wear dead fish as hats. Sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins. The hashtag or pound symbol for the elders is actually called an octotherp. There's enough gold to cover the surface of the earth, and I don't mean some smiddle little flitherine. I mean 1.5 feet of gold could cover the entire surface of the earth. You can make a diamond out of peanut butter, which I think would be the cutest engagement ring for one of those girls that love peanut butter. Beavers don't live in their dams, they live in lodges that they build behind the dam. Ants never sleep. They have cycles where they rest, but they never actually sleep. A single cloud can weigh over 1 million pounds. Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt. Because of the curvature of the earth, Maine is the closest US state to Africa. Matches were actually invented after lighters. That new car smell you love is actually over 200 chemicals, many of which are very toxic. When cranberries are ripe, they bounce like a ball.
So people ask me all the time about Gnosticism and what books to read, and I always direct them to the Nag Hammadi library. And if you've been seeing my work, you probably know about the books themselves by now, but the story of how they were found is actually pretty amazing and honestly worth telling on its own. So let's get into it. In 1945, an Egyptian farmer named Muhammad Ali al-Saman is digging for fertilizer near a cliff in Upper Egypt when his mattock hits something hard. To his surprise, it was actually a sealed clay jar. He hesitates before opening it because in rural Egyptian tradition, sealed jars sometimes contain spirits. But curiosity wins and he smashes it open. The good news, no spirit, just 13 leather-bound codices wrapped in protective covers. At this time, he had no idea what they were. His mother used some of the pages to light the cooking fire that night. The rest made their way through the Egyptian antiquities black market until scholars finally realized what they were looking at. And this is the part that nobody talks about. In 367 AD, Athanasius of Alexandria issued his famous 39th Festal letter, which was the first document in history to list the exact 27 books of the New Testament as we know it today. And in that very same letter, he explicitly ordered the clergy to destroy every text not on that list. Everything outside of it was declared heresy. But then, someone at the nearby Pacomian monastery made a decision. They couldn't burn these texts, so they sealed them in a jar, carried them to the cliff, buried them, walked away, and never came back, preserving in silence what the institution was destroying in fire. And this is why it's so important. Before Nag Hammadi, scholars knew about Gnosticism almost entirely through its opponents. These were church fathers who quoted these texts specifically to refute them. After Nag Hammadi, the Gnostics could finally speak for themselves, and what they said was so theologically extraordinary that the entire picture of early Christianity had to be redrawn. A farmer looking for fertilizer accidentally pulled it back out of the ground.
Can someone please tell me why all of the meteorite impact craters around the world are at a perfect 90-degree angle, from the ground relative to the sky? And did you know that there are about 200 meteorite impact craters on Earth? Well, if you read the Bible, there were apparently 200 watchers that fell from the heavens and then came down to Earth and mated with humans, creating the Nephilim hybrids. Now, that could just be a coincidence, but let's actually put on our thinking caps here, guys. Our tinfoil thinking caps. Does it really make any sense that an asteroid that is hitting Earth when the Earth is moving at 1,000 miles per hour, rotating at 1,000 miles per hour, and then moving around the sun at 66,000 miles per hour, does it really make sense how it would perfectly impact at a 90-degree angle from the sky relative to the ground? That doesn't even make any sense at all. And on top of that, there is no proof of any asteroid ever hitting the Earth. Never in written history have we had any proof of this happening. Now, we can see videos of meteors apparently going into Earth's atmosphere and then burning up before they hit the ground, but you never see them hit the ground. And do me a favor, Google asteroid in space, real asteroid in space. And Google Images pulls up a bunch of CGI images like always, like they always do. They just love rubbing it in our faces. I made this video entirely for entertainment purposes only.
One of the missing or departed scientists, Amy Eskridge, that people have been slamming in the press and online ever since it was reported that she took her own life. People have been posting and reporting that all the stuff she said was a lie, basically. Well, it turns out at least one of the things she was talking about was true because the government themselves admitted it. So Amy Eskridge, pictured here, was a scientist who said she worked on top secret projects for the government, including DEWs, direct energy weapons. Before she passed, she made videos talking about working on direct energy weapons. She showed her hands that had burn marks that she said came from working on those weapons. And since then, some people have said, and some places have reported, that there are no such things, and she was just making it up. Well, the Pentagon, the Pentagon, posted on social media and confirmed that they are working on DEWs, direct energy weapons. The same exact thing that Amy had been talking about before she tragically passed away. These 15 to 18, maybe even more, scientists and researchers like Amy with government ties who have mysteriously passed away or disappeared isn't something that the press or the powers to be can just blow off like that. She made a lot of statements, and her videos are still on social media. And the government itself confirmed that there are direct energy weapons that she said she had been working on for years. What are the odds of this all being some coincidence? I mean, Amy passing away, that general just disappearing out of the blue, and the other scientists, all connected to the government in some way, whether it's working with NASA, working with nuclear power, or researching UFOs. This story isn't going to go away. It's not.
I do believe that direct energy weapons are a thing. I think that they've been a thing for a while, and they're probably to the point where they're so advanced that they're ready to reveal them. Some of these wildfires that's been happening may be results of them as well as testing purposes.
Louisiana is a spooky place. You know, at nighttime, I will not go out because there's a lot of creepy supernatural stuff that happens in New Orleans. Now, there's this woman named Sarah. Sarah said that she and her friends were down at the French Quarter. She said this one night they go to this bar and they're over in the corner just talking, having a good time. All of a sudden, this man walks through the door and he's dressed really nice. He's got this cape on. She said he was just this beautiful, immaculate looking person. And he just walked over by the bar and just stood there. And the whole night, her friends are talking to her and everybody's dancing and having a good time, but she could not take her eyes off this man. And she felt almost like she was in this trance. After about an hour, she gets this feeling she should go over and talk to him. So she walks over to where he's standing. She goes, "Hi, I'm Sarah." The man just turns. He walks out the front door. And she feels compelled to follow him. So she walks out behind him. And he goes out around the corner into the alley. And he goes back a ways. She gets back there to where he's at. And she goes, "What are you doing out here? Why are you outside?" And this man turns and he grabs her by the shoulders and pushes her up against the wall. And he begins to try and go for her neck like he's getting ready to bite her. But then she hears her friends screaming her name. And when she looks, the man is gone. So she runs over to her friends and she's, in tears. And she goes, the man, he was going to get me. Like, I don't know who he was. And her friends were like, "Wait a second. What man? We seen you in the bar. You were talking to someone that wasn't there. You walked out of the bar by yourself and you went into the alley." And she swore up and down that she had seen this man. And for weeks, she could not get him out of her head. Now, New Orleans has also been a hotspot for paranormal activity, especially after the hurricanes hit. And shortly after Hurricane Katrina, there were a lot of strange things that happened. There was this older woman. She said she lived in the area close to where these dams had broken and Lake Pontchartrain leaked into the city. She said one night she was cooking dinner and she hears a knock at the front door. She goes to the front door, she answers it, and there's this small young girl in a purple dress, and she is completely wet, soaked in mud, and she's like, "Please, can you help me? I'm cold." And the woman said, "Absolutely, child, like, come inside." So she brings this girl inside and she sits her on the couch. She runs to go get her phone to call the police. But when she comes back to the living room, the girl is gone. She almost thought for a second that she had just imagined this, until she's seen these wet, muddy footprints leading from the porch to the couch. So what do you think? Is New Orleans a creepy?
I'll tell you what's creepy. Having friends that just let you talk to invisible people at the bar without checking up on you to make sure you're all right before you go outside. That seems like a red flag to me.
For those who are listening, once again, I'm exposing Freemasonry. And I mean, it's not surprising at this point since it is something I talk a lot about. But I wanted to go into the 3 major myths of the origination of Freemasonry. So, number 1 is the myth. I'm going to call it a myth because there's no actual historical backing behind this, but I'm not going to rule it out as a possibility. Because I always like to think when it comes to folklore and myth, you take it with a grain of salt and an ounce of truth. Because everything's based on truth. But number 1 would be Nimrod, the builder, the mighty hunter before the Lord. He is accredited, not biblically, but extra biblically, to be responsible for the building of the tower. And the Tower of Babel was the first major post-flood architecture project. And this is stone laying, this is masonry. But this is also a continuation of the buildings from the pre-flood world. Nimrod was preserving the practices from the pre-flood world, as passed down from Ham and Cush. So, starts with him, and then after the confounding of the languages, you had the Babylonian mystery schools. You had these education centers that would teach you the ancient ways of the Golden Age, the time before the flood. And so this would be teaching the craft of masonry. And we're not talking just laying down stones. We are talking the ancient practice of cutting stone. Now we get to the third one, which is the man accredited for building Solomon's temple, Hiram Abiff, I believe is how it's said. He was very well known for his building capabilities and had a secretive way of operating. And Solomon paid him to build God's temple. And that's recorded in, I believe, 1 Chronicles in the Bible. So, these are the three main supposed originations or continuations, origination and continuation. But I believe it all comes from the Golden Age, the time before the flood, when gods walked with man.
If you think life's unaffordable right now, buckle up, because in the next 5 years, it's going to get much worse unless we do something about it right now. The biggest conspiracy theory is playing out right in front of our faces, and we're not doing anything about it. In fact, we're paying for it. All your hard-earned tax dollars are paying for this, and you don't even realize it. This is going to make the recent daycare fraud look like chump change. If you pay for health insurance and you see your premiums constantly going up, you're already paying for it. In fact, if the person next to you at work is unproductive and lazy and obese, you're paying for it. That's costing you money. So what's going on and what can we do about it? The big food companies are ruining our health. The same guys selling all the chips and cookies, they make all the pizzas you can name, all the fast food joints, all the Pepsi and Coke products. It's all the same companies, and this group of companies are creating what we call ultra-processed foods. They're engineering things to be hyper-palatable, meaning it's tasty and you can't say no to it. These are the addictive foods that we're lining up to pay for, even though they know it's leading us straight to an early grave. It's quite simple, actually. They take some refined sugar, they add some fat, some seed oils, they stripped it of fiber, they make it salty. They put it all together to create these foods that people just can't live without. This food is now driving more than 50% of calorie consumption worldwide. And in the US, it's almost 70% of the American diet now. This is a huge problem. And if you think that's bad, know that these guys are just buttering us up to pass us on to the next guys, which is the pharmaceutical companies. But hey, these pharmaceutical companies, they're here to save the day, right? Wrong. None of their solutions actually solve any problem. Simply lifelong symptom management, which means you're living with the symptoms forever and taking the drugs that allow you to do that. Oh, and by the way, if you have any side effects from that, don't worry, because we have another drug for that too. Before you know it, you're on 2, 3, 4, 5 drugs. It's called cascading, and they know what they're doing. Lifetime customers of these pharmaceutical companies. So how do I know that this is happening? How do you not? Open your eyes. Go watch some TV. The first commercial you're going to see is for the big food companies. And the second one's going to be for the pharma companies. The third's going to be back to the food companies. And the fourth one back to the pharma company. Tell me I'm wrong. And then if you look online, the discourse is horrendous. They say obesity and diabetes are genetic diseases. Are you kidding me? They say it's just you. You're the problem. You don't have enough discipline. You just need to eat less and move more. And maybe that's a little bit true. But aren't you already doing that? Look, I learned a long time ago that if one kid has a problem in class, that kid might have an individual problem. But if the whole class is failing, it's not an individual problem. It's a classroom problem. It's the food and pharma rinse and repeat cycle. That's the problem. The experts shaping the guidelines are making it possible for them to have this racket. They're in on it. And don't expect the government or the media to save us, because their campaigns are bankrolled by these companies. Here's all we have to do. We have to get back to eating real food and eat meals at meal times. Eat what your grandparents would eat. That's how the problems start to disappear. You eat real food, you get good sleep, you get sun. And don't fall into this cycle of big food, big pharma, rinse and repeat. It's the only way to save the rising costs that everyone has to deal with day to day. We have to get healthy We have to take the power back.
Last night, I had something really weird happen as I was falling asleep that's never happened to me before. And as someone who channels quite often and feels energy in lots of different weird ways and can tap into weird stuff that most people can't see, it's not uncommon for me to feel something weird, but I wanted to see if this happened to anybody else because I'm unsure. I'm unsure if it was because I had channeled a lot for deeper downloads. Like I went into meditation and then like the channeling just kind of overflowed and I got information on like the ballroom, why it's not going to be finished, stuff with extraterrestrials, something called the Final War, like wild stuff. And it was like so much pours out of me. If you want to hear about it, it'll be this Friday. Link is in the bio. It's deeper downloads. It's just the stuff we can't share on socials because, you know, the social media overlords, they want to remove the information and not let us speak. So we do it on our own. We do it where we can do it privately. Yesterday, though, I was all buzzy with energy, not like chaotic buzzy, just like happy, clear of mind, good mood, go, go, go. Like I want to do this and this and this. I mean, it was like I was coked up all day, but like not insane. I don't know how to explain it. It's really weird. I had a weed seltzer. Am I allowed to say that in here? I don't know. At the end of the day to try to like chill myself out. I'm like, it's gonna be sleepy time soon. So I'd like to sleep, right? So I had that. It's like I had caffeine. It did nothing at all. And so when I'm finally going to sleep, wide awake, by the way, even though I'm feeling tired, wide awake, I'm laying on my belly. I'm a stomach sleeper on my left hip, which is significant because the left side of your body is your spiritual receiving side, and the right side of your body is your like more human, earthy, 3D giving side. Okay, so it's left hip, and if this were my hip bone, I felt this like wavy energy. It's like really hard to describe. It's like wavy energy go over my hip, like almost where I go, oh my god, is something under my sheets? Like because it was like strong, like I felt it, and I go, that's a weird energy. And then I let it go, and I was like, I just made that up because that's really insane. And then it happened again several minutes later, and I go, okay, so I didn't make that up. What was going on? I'm like feeling in my sheets, making sure there's not like a critter in there because I'm telling you it was really intense. And then it happened a third time as I was falling asleep. And then the whole night, even though I'm not stressed, I'm not worried, I'm not anxious, I don't have anything like that going on, I could not sleep. I think I woke up in 20-minute intervals the whole night, which is insane. Even though I was tired, I just like kept waking up, something would not let me sleep all night. And I was like, what was going on? So I don't know if it's because I channeled a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, like that just came pouring out of me. I don't know if it's just because of the energy. So have you ever experienced anything like that? What's going on? I'm going to tap into it more, but I'm just so confused right now. I can't tap into it clearly because I'm so emotionally invested in the answer. So I'm going to have to wait a minute. So while I'm waiting a minute, have you experienced that? What's going on? What's the weird things that have happened to you?
I don't do any of the meditation or channeling or anything like that, but the 20-minute sleep intervals, that's the story of my life. That is exactly how my sleep always goes down. Tired, exhausted, but never can get any sleep. One of the reasons why I'm out here making a video. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. If today's your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.